Hello everyone. Merry Christmas from me and my family. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I have 4 really fun project ideas and a special treat for you today. One of the privileges I have as a content creator here on YouTube and over on Facebook is the privilege of meeting all of you and becoming friends and really family extended all over the world. What I like to do at the holidays is find some unique creative way to give back and show how much I appreciate you. So this video is my gift to you. As someone who watches tons and tons of content and videos here on YouTube, I want to send out a special thank you to the CrafsMan. He has an amazing channel. If you've never seen him, I'm going to link his channel in the description box below. CrafsMan, thank you so much for inspiring my Christmas gift to all of my viewers this year. I loved your video. I love sitting down at the end of my day and watching your content. I hope you have an awesome 2020 and keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Remember, his link is in the description box below. So this year I wanted to do something a little bit different for our Christmas project. Created a file, and in the description box below, you'll find 3 links. One is for an SVG file. With that SVG, you can make all types of projects like the shirt you see in today's video. You can cut it out in vinyl. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So you'll find the SVG file. You'll also find 2 PDFs. The first PDF is this image, right side up. And with that, you can do all kinds of projects like create paper projects that you can frame and give to your friends and family. So we're going to walk through it and create this together. You can also print it out on fabric and make little wall quilts like what you see here. I'm going to bring you along as we do this project together. And then you'll also find the mirror imaged PDF, and that is for the project that we are going to focus on today, doing transfers on wood with a laser printer. On this box, we're going to create this together. So the CrafsMan inspired me to learn how to transfer images onto all kinds of things. And so don't forget his link in the description box. You can go check him out. You can do this with an inkjet printer as well. I have found a different video that shows you how to do that. So if you have an inkjet printer, this could be for you as well. But we're going to create this lovely box together. It's going to be so much fun. So yes, 3 different files in the description box. Imagine all of the possibilities that you could do, projects that you could create with just a simple PDF or SVG file. I'm just going to show you 4 ideas today. The 3 projects we're going to quickly go through and mainly focus on wood transferring with the laser printer today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move you down to the mat and we're going to get busy. Today, the material that I'm going to use through my laser printer in order to transfer our design to our wooden box is a label sheet. Now, this label sheet is good for laser printers and inkjet printers. I'm going to put a link to these labels. It's a full sheet down in the description box below if you want to check that out. But what I'm really interested in is the actual sheet that the label is adhered to, because it is glossy and the toner releases off of this glossy sheet in order to do our transfer. However, we're not going to waste the full sheet of label that is on this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this label right off. And I'm going to adhere it to some fabric in order to do a printing on fabric project. I have tons of videos about printing on fabric. If that is something that is totally new to you and you want to learn more, you can check out my channel for those videos. We are not wasting this label. I will trim off the extra fabric and we're going to make a fun quilting project with this design as well at the end of this video. So there's my label sheet. We have not wasted that. However, you can see now we have a transfer sheet that is glossy on one side and matte on the other. And we are actually printing with our laser printer right on this glossy side. Let me go show you the print settings that I like to use from my printer, and then we will print out our design. Today I'm using Adobe Acrobat Reader DC to open up my PDF document, and I'm going to show you the print settings that work best for my printer, which is an HP color laser printer. However, these are the settings that I like to use, and if you have variances that you are not happy with during the printing process, remember to check out the link to the CrafsMan's channel. He goes over some different settings that might work for you if you are experiencing printing issues on the glossy label transfer paper. So remember to check out his channel if you have print issues. These are just the settings that I like to use that work best for my printer, and this might be a really great starting point for you. The first thing I'm going to do is go up to the Properties menu, right up at the top. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go over right here to this tab that says Paper. I'm going to come down to the type of paper, and from this menu, I'm going to select Heavy Gloss. With that selected, I'm going to come down and hit OK. And now we're ready to print. So let's move over to the printer and I'll show you the label transfer paper as it comes out of the printer. Okay, I have my label sheet down in the paper tray. The shiny side is facing up for my printer. That might vary for your printer. And now we are waiting for it to come out on the tray. Be very careful when lifting up your design because the toner is on the glossy sheet. It does smudge, so you want to be careful. Very carefully, I'm going to lift up my design, and there we go. Now this is toner. It will smudge and move around on the glossy paper, so be careful in handling this. Now I'm going to go ahead and use these little boxes to trim up my design to make it fit the top of my box. So now we're ready to start some fun stuff. I just trimmed my image. You'll see me doing that here very carefully so I don't disturb the toner that's on the transfer paper. And now I have all of the materials that we're going to use to transfer this image. I purchased a wooden box, isn't this cute, from Amazon. And I'll put a link to this down below. I trimmed my image exactly to the same size as the top of this box, which is nice and flat. And then I have some different mediums here. Now I have used Mod Podge, I have used Liquitex Gloss Medium and Varnish to transfer images before. Today I'm going to use the Liquitex Matte Gel, which is a little bit thicker and will not be as shiny. And I know the Craftsman has used polyacrylic to get some really great transfer results. So you might want to check out his video on that if you have some polyacrylic and would like to use that. So for this part of the process, you'll notice that my image is mirror imaged because we're going to be transferring it onto this wooden box. If you're printing on fabric, you can download the image that's right side up. So that image is there for you as well. There's actually 3 different files that you can download in the description box below. For this process, we're using the mirror imaged design. And with just a brush like this, I'm going to apply some of the Liquitex Matte Gel right onto the top of my box. I'm just going to bring that generously all the way on the surface of my box, all the way to the edge. Trying to keep it from sliding around. My understanding is that you want a nice generous coat over the entire surface. And I've seen him transfer on wood and metal. I've experimented with transferring on glass, and that works too. I even saw him transfer on a rock, which was pretty fun. Okay, now the top of my box is nice and coated. Let's go ahead and put the lid back onto that jar and set that aside. I will wash out that brush here in just a second. Now we're going to carefully take our image and line it up with the top of our box. Careful that your toner does not touch any parts of your medium on the top of the box as you're trying to situate yourself so that everything is lined up. And slowly lay your label down. Now I'm just going to take an old used up Joann's gift card and very carefully, starting at the middle, I'm going to just burnish this design all the way from the middle to the edge. And I'm holding the design with my fingers so that there's no shifting or moving. You want to make sure that you get all of the air bubbles out, because where there's an air bubble, your design will not stick to the surface. You might get a little bit of ooziness like this. Let me find something to wipe that off on. Okay, some paper towels handy would be a good idea. Just to clean off all this extra that squishes out from the side. And when this is really, really wet, I think this is the part that's really going to take the most attention. It's because as that paper gets wet from the medium, it tends to bubble up. And we just want to make sure that we prevent that from happening. I did see that he laid some books on top of his design once everything was really burnished into place to keep everything nice and flat. Now I'm going to continue burnishing just for a few minutes until I don't see any more bubbles. And then I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours. You could let it dry overnight if you needed to. And when this is dry, we're going to pull up the release paper. Before you let everything dry, make sure to go around with a paper towel and clean up the edges of all of the medium that we've burnished to the edges. Now I'm going to try to be really patient and wait for that to dry. So while we're waiting, let's create a couple of other projects together. With the SVG file, I have brought that into Canvas Brother Workspace, and you'll see here I'm using my Scan and Cut to cut out some heat transfer vinyl. I mirror imaged the SVG file in my program. We've cut out the design, and I'm going to use my little baby Cricut heat press to heat set this onto one of my favorite t-shirts. There are tons of videos that show you how to do this step by step on YouTube. So if you've never used an SVG or a heat transfer vinyl, I encourage you to go watch some videos and learn how to create your own favorite new shirt. Next, we're going to move over and use the label that we used at the very beginning of this video. I just printed on fabric with that label. And now I'm going to trim away the extra bits away from the design. I do have very detailed step-by-step instructional videos. If you've never seen this done, you can check them out on my channel. I thought it would be fun to create a little wall hanging with this design. So once it's trimmed, the very first thing I'm going to do is add 2 3-inch strips to the left and right, and I will press those open. And then I'll bring in 2 more 3-inch strips and add them to the top and bottom with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and give that a good press. And then I'll bring in some batting and a backing fabric. I like to use glue sticks to baste all my layers together. You can check out my videos to learn more how to do that. And then let's bring this over to the sewing machine, and I'll walk you through as I quilt this little mini wall hanging. Using my free motion foot, I'm going to quilt right around the sewing machine. I've already used a straight stitch and stitched in the ditch around my design and the fabric borders that we've added. And I'll just bring you along as I do some quilting in this area. And then we'll move over to the borders. Now I've changed my top and bottom thread to a purple colored thread. And I'm just going to do some loop-de-loop free motion quilting in the border area. We'll sit back and enjoy some quilting time together. Once I'm done with my quilting, I'm going to take this over to my cutting mat, trim away all of the extra batting and backing, and I'm going to use the same colored purple thread to do an overlocking stitch to finish off my little wall hanging. This is a quick and fast way to finish off small little projects like this, and you save so much time versus creating a binding for your little quilt. Now that we're finishing up this project, let's take a good look at our results. I think this would make such a perfect gift idea for your creative friends, or you can make one for your own sewing room. How adorable is that? Now I'm going to go back to my computer and print this design out on some pretty cardstock. For this project, this is the paper pad that I used, and I printed our PDF right side up on one of the pieces of cardstock. Next, I'm going to bring you along as I trim up my design using my paper cutter. Now that I'm done trimming away my design, I'm going to bring over some Tim Holtz Vintage Photo Distressing Ink and just ink up the edges of my design, giving it a little bit of dimension and color. I love using this technique in my journaling. So we will ink up the edges and then get ready to mount this onto a background piece of cardstock from the same paper pad. Just using some double-sided tape. I will try to make this as straight as possible, but we're going to trim this up anyway, so it doesn't have to be exact. Now that it's mounted on the big cardstock, I can go through and trim away the background. This would be great mounted in a frame or just hung up on the wall just like you see here. Keep in mind, you can resize your PDF and make this smaller if you'd like. Those are our 3 projects, and now we can get back to our wood transfer. Okay, while I was making those other projects, this was drying. I believe it's good and dry now. It's been about 3 hours. Let's go ahead and lift up this transfer paper, and it should just peel right off. Of course, if you got some glazing medium on the side, it might get stuck just like that. Oop, it's not dry. Let's put it back down and let it dry. So it's the next day. After being totally impatient yesterday, I tried removing the transfer sheet and the inside was still wet. I think because I placed the books on top to flatten out the image, it really wasn't drying that fast. Maybe another reason is because the last project I did, I used this liquid text product and it dried really quick. I also did not put books on top of it. And this one that we used today is quite thicker and might take a little bit longer to dry. So I just rubbed the design back down into place, set the books back on top, waited until today, this morning, and we're going to finish removing this label and hopefully the design stuck back down. We'll see. Oh yeah. Okay, so some of my toner stuck to the label sheet, probably where the little air bubbles were. Let's take a look at this design. So there we go, that's what we have. And because it's black toner and not colored toner, I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix this. I'm going to take a Sharpie and go in and color the missing parts. So stay tuned. So here's our box. Now that I've fixed the missing parts of the transfer, I'm going to let that dry for a second. So I want to dress up my box a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take a little tiny Phillips head screwdriver and remove the hardware, the clasp that holds the box shut, and the two hinges from the back. Just going to take that off so it's out of the way. And we're going to play around with some of this Liquitex gel medium today. So being careful not to lose any of these tiny little screws. I'm going to remove the hardware and set that off to the side. And I'm going to bring over some paper napkins that a friend of mine sent me a couple of months ago. These paper napkins have actually 3 layers. 2 of the layers are blank, and then the prettiest top layer is the one that we're going to actually be decoupaging to the side of our box. I'm going to take a brush and some of the Liquitex matte gel medium and just brush that onto the side of my box. I'm going to line that back up and then apply the paper napkin right over top and smoothing that out as we go along. Then I'm going to try to carefully remove the extra part of the napkin so that we can reuse the majority of what's left on the next side. I'm going to try to remove any extra bits that are hanging off the side as best that I can. And you might have to wait until the box is completely dry to really clean up the edges. I don't do a lot of decoupaging, however, it's one of my, or it used to be one of my favorite things to do. I haven't done it in a long time, so I'm a little cumbersome. But we'll go along and add the napkin to each one of the 4 sides. We're coming right along. As you can see, I'm quite the messy crafter. That's okay. We will clean up as we go along. Getting ready to apply the napkin to the last side of our box. Smoothing that down. And then removing as much of the extra bits as you can. I've decided that it's a little bit too wet to try to remove the extra bits from the bottom, so I'm just going to leave that for now. And using a foam applicator, I'm going to apply a top coat right over top of our napkin on all 4 sides. This will permanently seal our napkin. And we'll just work our way around the box. Once we're done with all 4 sides, I'm going to lay this down and apply a top coat to our label transfer. I'm going to be very careful where I added the Sharpie because this gel medium will smudge the Sharpie. Now we're just going to wait for this to dry. Again, I'm going to have to be very patient. Coming back, my box is nice and dry, and we can remove all the extra bits from the bottom of our box now, which is easier said than done if you're a cumbersome crafter like I am. If you're using a little Sharpie knife like this, please be careful. I've decided just to use my little snips and snip away all of the extra pieces. Now with the extra pieces, you might find that some of your edges at the very bottom did not get any of the gel medium. So now you can go back and make sure that the bottoms of your box or your project is sealed. So I'll just reapply some gel medium and wait for that to dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and run right along the opening on all four sides of my box. Being very careful, the X-Acto knife is sharp. Now the top is separated from the base, and we can go ahead and reapply our hardware. I think the trickiest part to this is finding where you've covered up the holes that were in the box. Now here is our lovely box with our tissue decoupage and our laser printer photo transfer. You could be done here. However, I'm going to go one more step, bring in a StazOn ink pad, and distress my box a little bit to make it look a little vintage. I'll go around all of my edges and just apply some ink, and this gives a really aged look to the box, and it also hides up any little mistakes that you might have made like me. I'll just bring you along as I ink up all of the edges, and you'll see this box really transform and take on a vintage, softer look. And as we finish up, here is my label transfer on my wooden box. I absolutely love this. It looks so soft and so feminine. Imagine the possibilities with all of the different kinds of napkins and tissue paper that you could decoupage with, and creating your own logos for transferring onto wood. Thank you so much, Craftsman. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video and have been inspired by one of the projects you've seen today. Don't you just love this box? Imagine all of the little sewing notions and tools and gadgets you could keep in this box. I'm going to keep it on my work table, a constant reminder of all of my friends and family that I've met making these videos. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so glad you've joined me in this journey on my channel and over on Facebook. Don't forget all of the links down below. And if you use this file to create any kind of project, I would love to see it. The link to the Creative Crew group is down below. And if you're not on Facebook, you can send me pictures to this email address. I would love to see what you create. I am so excited going into the new year, all kinds of new projects, all kinds of new friends and relationships. I'm really thankful for everybody. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Have fun creating.